Ooh, that was a close one. But what exactly is going on in here? And more importantly, how is all this happening? Well, let me show you in create mode. Hello, this is LBPHorror101 with your host, the Unknown One, and we're in a level of mine that I've been working on for the past few days. It's not finished yet, but I thought maybe I can show you how everything comes into play here. This is Lesson 3, Lights, Camera, Logic. Starting with a quick intro, I have my name and the name of the level in these fancy letters I made with the corner editor. They do a little light show with some slight camera zooming. We start up by exiting Theater 9 with some muffled background music in the main floor, which has a lot of 3D layering. It's not necessary to have this much, but 3D does affect the atmosphere of the level, giving a wide open environment to view. As we cross this point, the camera is shifted to the theater admissions and entrance. A global audio tweaker is activated by a player sensor and fades the music off. Over here we have a ton of wires. I'll explain the reason for that in a moment, but shift your attention to the concession stand. The cashier tells you that everybody suddenly disappears for a while, but the movie doesn't close for another 3 hours. So obviously this isn't something normal and worth checking out. As you make your way downstairs, the lighting darkens and there's still nobody around. But you can see there sure is a hell of a lot of logic down here that might look like a mess, but it's pretty simple to explain. All these pieces of logic are parts of events that happen, like the pictures changing and the strange noises. I mostly use counters, which are activated by player sensors, so an event occurs once you pass by a specific spot a certain number of times. For groups of 4, each player is counted unless you tweak the player sensor to only sense the lead player. Take that into consideration. You can use randomizers instead of counters if you like, but counters give you a better sense of control when creating. I usually use randomizers for flickering lights. So as you explore the lower floor, you are completely oblivious to the fact that you are tripping counters that activate certain events. This one right here is connected to a timer that activates a toggle switch that turns all the lights upstairs off and makes the cashier disappear. The reason it's connected to a timer first instead of just a toggle is because timers will turn on and stay on as opposed to the toggle, which will keep turning on and off the damn lights every time you pass by. Use a timer when you need something to only happen one time. The logic here is fairly simple. If you haven't played all the tutorials on LittleBigPlanet, I strongly recommend that you do so because logic is a must in horror. With that said, let's make things even more complicated, like the events in the ladies' bathroom. Okay, so here we have another mess of logic that can easily be understood when you break it down into two separate events. These are two counters that activate once you pass by one 3 times and the other 5 times. The one you pass by 3 times activates the flushing noise, a lady crying, and opens this door. It is also linked to this A and D gate along with these 2 player sensors that work together to open this door by deleting this, emitting the door with anti-gravity here, and activates this sequencer playing the sound effects. Also, this camera activates for 0.3 seconds. The camera shakes violently, which is always a good visual for those jump scare moments. The counter with 5 counts activates the event where the trash can is being thrown across the bathroom. In order to do this, I emit the trash can from up here with the appropriate tweak settings. I have glass right here shatter along with the sequencer playing at the right time and another shaking camera. These are all timers, and these are counters. To tell the difference, I always make timers shorter so I don't confuse myself, because they pretty much look the exact same. And over here, we have the scene with the mirror exploding. The mirror is actually glitched glass material. Just like the bathroom events, we have a sequencer playing the sound effects, a shaky camera, and mirror shards that fly out. The only difference to this timer and player sensor is this activates only if you stare for 5 seconds and then leave. The glass shards fly out from the emitters back here. This is another counter. This microchip is part of the event where you hear a noise and see a black figure in the mirror. There's a little more to this level, but nothing really worth going over. I plan on redoing and finishing this whole level on LBP3. I cannot stress how important it is to have good camera angle and lighting in your horror levels. Also, there really isn't much of a need for music to play during a horror level because it can be majorly distracting if it doesn't fit in with the whole atmosphere. Just remember that silence is golden, but if you have a knack for making creepy-ass ambient music, then by all means drop it in. But again, silence along with the slightest noise can have a really big impact in horror. Unlike platformers, horror levels rely more on the story than the actual gameplay. Yes, gameplay is a huge part of a horror level, but look at my Sackboy.exe levels. The logic is at a minimum in those levels, with the exception of the boss battles. That's probably the reason why I have a lot of people that hate my levels and think they are poorly made. But my levels weren't meant to be an impressive logic fest, guys. They are more story than logic, and I believe that's how most horror levels should be put together. The story is everything, not just logic. So, in my next video, I'll discuss the do's and don'ts horror cliches that people tend to use and ruin their levels with. Until next time, this is LBPHorror101 with the Unknown One saying class dismissed.